attention you can get. This is Built on Blues. Built on Blues.
Welcome back to Built on Blues. I'm your host, Graeme Bryks. We complain that young people don't want to work or that we can't find guys who can even pass a drug test. But complaining doesn't pour concrete. My guest today spent 30 years in high-level corporate world, companies like LexisNexis and Dow Jones. She could have retired comfortably in the boardroom. Instead, she walked away to start Fortitude, a program that takes young adults facing systematic barriers and turns them into job-ready construction pros in 8 weeks. Nicole Davis, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here. Thank
I'm
you for
excited to get
hosting such
started.
an impactful podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it so much. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on. I think we're going to bring some good insight and, really get to know what Fortitude brings to the marketplace. I want to start with your resume. You spent 3 decades in corporate America, executive leadership, workforce dynamics, big boardrooms. Most people run away from the trades to get to where you are. You ran toward it. What was the specific moment that made you trade the corporate safety net for the messy reality of construction workforce development? Was it the frustration, what you saw in the hiring market?
No, I'll tell you, the corporate, I was in contract triage work. And so when contracts went poorly on Wall Street, it was my job to go to the boardroom and sit with the C-suite executives and sort them out and make corrections to the contracts and to the relationship. And frankly, I was in that specific position for about 3 years, and it was soul crushing. It was very difficult. It was emotionally draining. And there was a day when I went into my office and I just thought, I just can't do this anymore.
hmm
And that was terrifying because I had a comfortable salary. I had a comfortable life. I had all of the trappings that you might want. And yet I found that in the end, there was no soul to it. And fortunately, it came at about the same time as COVID. And so everybody was kind of on this pause. We had all this time for reflection and kind of reevaluation of where are you going? What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? And I had a mindset for Fortitude for young people who maybe don't have the parental support. They don't have they weren't born on second base, so to speak, and that they've had struggles, either family struggles, societal struggles, economic struggles, cultural struggles. What are those people doing? How do they rise up? How do they find their way? And for young adults standing at the threshold who have no hope for the future, what happens to those young people? They turn to things that are not developmental. They're not contributing to their future. And there's no pathway or vision for success. And I just had this really beautiful segment of time that everybody hit pause and none of the work was being done. And so I had somebody who said, look, if you can put 6 months time to the development of this idea, I will put you in front of people who will give you $1 million to carry it out. And I thought, okay, I've got the time. And if I don't have the time, I'll make the time. And I sat down and I had a business partner, a friend of mine who came in, and she was kind of more of the administrative back end type of, handling all of the contracts and the legal, how do you
The
start a
legal side of
nonprofit and
things.
all this.
Yeah.
None of us knew. We were like completely novices at this, but a few books and just some really raw determination. And we started to create this. And I put something out on Volunteer Match, and somebody called me, Ted Williams from Webcor, which is one of the major contractors here in California. And he said, look, I read about your program, and, we have a corporate responsibility to give back. And we usually do, food banks and beautification projects at parks. And while that's all good, what a great opportunity for our company to align with a nonprofit that's actually serving the industry. And from that point, it was fire. There was just no turning back, and we knew it. And so together with Webcor, they contributed the industry knowledge that we needed. While I was in corporate, I had started my own business called Affinity Mentoring, and it was mental health skill building for young adults. We had a situation here in the Bay Area, 2009, where a whole, 15 young people were died by suicide and jumping in front of trains. And I happened to be working with a young person. I was a youth leader at the time. And he said, you know why they're jumping in front of trains? And I said, no, but we need to know, and somebody needs to do something. And he said, it's because they've been conditioned all their life. And this was a young person still in high school. They've been conditioned all their life to believe that they have to go to Berkeley or they have to go to Stanford or Yale or Harvard or whatever. And they come out of the womb I mean, he didn't elaborate like this did, but
Yeah.
onesie that says Stanford all over. And then in the spring, they get notifications of acceptance or rejection from these schools. And they don't know where to go and they don't know what to do. They've always ever been so focused on that ambition. And when it doesn't happen, they think they've got nothing left. And so they end their lives. And at that point, this was actually 2010 for me, I started Affinity Mentoring, where I worked with young people one-on-one to back them up from the idea that if your ambition doesn't end up playing out, there are other options. And how can you incorporate emotional regulation and distress tolerance and resilience? And how can you find those within yourself when the one thing that your parents have lifted you up to doesn't actually play out? So I spent a number of years in my private time, not my corporate time, where I was learning all about cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, using that with youth. I actually even got a coaching certification that's youth development and career development. And suddenly it all just started coming together because look, if they're not going to Stanford, they're obviously not going to be, rising in such a way to the ambitions that they had set for themselves or their parents had set for them. So what's another way around that? And as I started to work in that environment, I started to realize that, those who are born on second base, they have these
Yeah.
great advantages. Wait a minute, there's this whole group of other people over here who maybe didn't have those same advantages. The people who didn't get into Stanford will surely get into another school. We just had to get them through that disappointment of this, this colossal loss of that ambition. But beyond that, they were good. They were on the runway. These other folks, these other kids, I call them kids, young adults, right? They didn't even have the first aspiration of being able to afford college. Now California's come along and they've made college free for many people. And so it's not quite as much of a barrier, but even culturally and familially, generationally, people were not oriented to understand that success was within their reach. And I thought, man, what's worse than, you didn't get into Stanford. That's okay. I'm sorry. And you'll, go to UC Davis, go to some other school, go to another good school. But if you've never even had the opportunity to think that you might be able to support your family and not work 4 jobs, what can we do with those folks? What can we do to help them? And so my heart just, exploded with the idea of let's find a way to get them to where they believe they have a place in this world and that the world will receive and respect them as a professional in the trade or in the profession that they want to go to. I came up in a family, my mom and my stepdad owned a construction company. And so I'll often say I cut my teeth on 2x4s. But the truth is that when I was, 9, 10, 11, 12, while I was still kind of under the control of my parents of what I had to do for the day, in the summers, literally their foreman would roll up to our house in his, 1972 El Camino, and I'd jump in the passenger seat and I would ride with him from job site to job site. He was effectively my nanny. So and really he dropped me off at job sites, or he didn't drop me off. He would go to job sites to check on things. And he'd say, go pick up nails, go pick up soda cans, go pick up, make sure this is all organized or whatever. So I really was working on a job site at an early age. Even to this day, I cannot walk to a job site and smell sawdust and dirt and not have this heart feeling for it. I don't care what the corporate America boardrooms offered me. Nothing matches the feeling I have when I smell dirt and sawdust. It's just a thing, I guess. So definitely passionate about the industry. It was this perfect culmination. And the other thing is that when I was in high school, I graduated. My mom had some pretty severe mental health issues. And so I was really focused on keeping her alive, frankly. And I didn't do as well in school. So I didn't have the option of going to a Stanford or something like that. I think I had the intellect, but I didn't have the grades because I had really been otherwise focused at trying to help my mom. And so when I ended up looking at a community college and they said, well, we have, I thought maybe construction I'd go into, maybe not putting on the bags, but maybe I could do what I had seen my parents do, which is to run a construction company. And I went in, and mind you, this was more years ago than I'd maybe care to admit on a podcast, but we'll say mid 80s. And they said, well, we've got a construction program, but it really isn't for girls. And at the time, now somebody says that and there's a lawsuit, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Then it wasn't. And I had to say, oh, well, okay. Well, then I guess I'll just go into general studies and I'll just kind of muddle through. And I did. I just kind of muddled through and I never even finished. I ended up going and getting a job and kind of climbing my way up. I have that, I don't know, tenacity or I don't know, the drive. I get that
yeah,
from mom for sure, to her credit. I have a hunger for, more and more. And so I moved my way up. I eventually went back to college, but I got a theology degree, which is absolutely nothing applied to the business world that I went into or the world that I'm in now, but I finished it. That was what was important. But the truth is that I kind of clawed my way to the C-suites of corporate America. And I thought, man, if I've got that in me, I can surely build this program. And I hope that I can inspire others who have had challenging home life, challenging early life experiences, that you can rise up from those situations and you can make something of yourself. Set your compass to your true north and pursue it at all costs. And that's exactly what I do with my students. When they come into the classroom, I say, look, there's a lot of stuff we can get caught up in, politics and business, all these things. What I want from you is I want to hear from you. What is your true heart? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? And that's kind of, I'm sorry, I went way further than
no, that's
that.
fine. No, I love this. This
That
is
is
great.
truly the genesis story of how Fortitude came about. It was
Yeah,
part a mix of my kind of challenging childhood and
yeah,
part a mix of where I found myself in my mid 40s, early 50s of I got to do something different.
yeah.
Fortunately, it came together beautifully, and Fortitude is the result.
No, I love that. It's really inspiring hearing that you were able to make that switch at that time. A lot of people I feel like just work and then like you said, you're comfortable, but there was like something else in you that wasn't like just right and that's your purpose. Like you felt like your purpose
Yeah,
was
could
something
not
else.
be
Like
denied.
I gotta help something. I gotta help these kids. I gotta because like you said, your past experiences and your upbringing, there was like some troubles there and you're like, I don't want other kids to go through this. So I that really hit home for me because I feel like young people, young adults like myself, I mean, you work so hard like through it in the school situation, you study, you spend all this time working so hard to get into some of these schools and sometimes it doesn't work out. And then when it doesn't work out, you don't really plan for those situations. For myself, it was like I played hockey for 19 years, and that's all I ever did was hockey, 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 9 hours a day for 19 years. And then as soon as I aged out, I'm like, oh my goodness, like what do I do now? Like hockey, like my dream was to be in NHL, but now it's not that anymore. Like what is my purpose? So like finding your purpose is so important. And so it's amazing what you guys are doing at Fortitude to almost like help young adults who are struggling to, find that fire in them or like find just what to do next to actually guide them in a way where it doesn't guide them down, some unfortunate path.
Yeah, and part of it is the life mastery piece, right? Because I mean, I'm not just turning out young people who are going to bumble their way into a job and make it or not make it. We really are setting the standards for professional communication, interaction with teammates. How are you a good employee? How do you handle when things go wrong? Because too many, I mean, and there are so many of our students who graduate and say, nobody ever taught us this. How did we get through 12 years of school and nobody taught us this?
Yeah.
We do financial literacy. They don't know anything about what a 401k is or what a
Or
loan is
nothing,
or
right?
any.
It's honestly so important. It's like that was like me, like I just took it upon myself to start learning more and more about financial literacy and like, especially up here in Canada because it's obviously different in the States, but just like had no idea what the hell a TSFA was at the time and just like taking advantage of all this kind of stuff. I love how you bring up the life mastery and your guys' curriculum because that's actually the question I was going to come up with next was for the people listening, can you actually explain what the life mastery is, like, what is the curriculum and all that kind of stuff that you guys teach? Because like I said, it's not that you were mentioning before, it's not things that you would really hear or learn about in traditional school. So what is it that makes you guys so different?
Yeah. It's twofold. It's a commitment that I have to these young adults to let them know that they're okay, even if they don't feel okay. Because in this day of social media and everybody telling you how you feel or how you're supposed to live or how you're supposed to act or this or that, I want them to know that just as they are, they're okay and that there's a place for them in the world. And in order to assume that place, in order to step into that reality, they also have to know kind of what the expectations are of them as an adult, as a professional, as somebody who wants to rise up into leadership. And for so many, they don't even have that vision or that concept that that could be someplace they could go. And so we take it to a very base level. In fact, a lot of my students are from different cultures, and I say, look, for 2 months, can we set all of that noise aside? Because what I want you to do is to tap into who you are. What is your heart? What is your passion? What is your dream? And not this lofty, oh, I want to be an influencer, or I want to be a this,
Yeah.
or I want to be
I'm a
a that.
content creator. I want to be a
Yeah,
YouTuber.
yeah, exactly, right? I want to know what do you want? And I often will say, who's your 40-year-old? What is your 40-year-old doing? I want you to check in with that person because the things that you're doing today are setting that person up for success. And if you make the right choices today, you can see that person sitting on their boat or sitting on their big deck watching their kids play in the yard. Those realities can be yours. And so the life mastery piece it's communication, it's emotional regulation, it's how do you interact with people, a client, a partner, a teammate, or your spouse, because look, frankly, a lot of problems that happen on the job are because things aren't right at home. And so we do this whole 360 of their life and we start to figure out, okay, well, this is the professional segment. So we're going to teach you how to use a bandsaw. We're not bandsaw, a circular saw. We're going to teach you how to use a driver. We're going to teach you the construction process from foundation to roof. When we build a shed so that we can replicate framing, we can replicate foundation, we can replicate roofing, we can do plumbing and electrical in this tiny little unit so that they get that experience. But we're not building a shed. We're building their confidence. When they take a tool and they actually put something together and they stand back and they go, I built that. That's crazy. I built that. I never held a tool before this, and I built that. Then you start to see their confidence rise. This is where that life mastery comes in because they don't even know it. They're just experiencing it, and suddenly they're feeling it and they're living it, and it's setting them up for that success, for them to believe in themselves, believe that they have within them what they need to go out and be successful. And we also teach them what's the world expecting of you? And so how do you show up in an interview? How are you elaborating on your answers so that you are engaging with the interviewer and not just answering one syllable or, a short phrase for an answer, but really get into it and understand what they want to hear from you. So we set them up with confidence. I think that's the greatest tool we could ever put in their tool belt is confidence. Because once you believe in yourself, there's a lot more that you will do that you never thought you could do, right?
Yeah.
I
I couldn't
have a
agree
quick
more. Go for it.
I'll just give you a real quick example. One of the girls that came through our program, and she had previously been a dispensary agent, right? So she was working at a local cannabis dispensary. Yeah, exactly. And I just ran into her in the wild somewhere and we got to talking and she said, yeah, well, that's obviously not what I want for my career. I'd really like to be a plumber. My dad was a plumber. And I think a plumber, wow, that's a strange ambition, but okay, let's go with it because, hey, guess what? I happen to have this program where I could actually teach you what you need to know to be able to get a job in the plumbing industry. And sure enough, she showed up. She went through the interview. She went through the coursework. She went through the process. She landed a job with a plumbing company here in the Bay Area. She worked for them for a year and she realized that it really wasn't her true heart and that she was grateful for the experience and the training and the learning, but she really felt like she could give more. And she applied for a position with the San Francisco Police Department. And she's actually going through the background checks right now. And she sent me a text message and I said, I'm so proud of you. Now you might think, hey, I just invested in you to go and be a plumber. And a year later now you're not a plumber. That's because she got it. She understood, no, I need to follow my passion and my passion is to help people. And I want to do that as a police officer. And I'm honestly, there couldn't be anybody more perfect for the job because she does come with this heart for people and a sense of what's right. And she knows that she's in the space that she created for herself. And I think it's one of the most beautiful stories we can tell of fortitude because it doesn't even end at, okay, and she's in the industry. No, she was in the industry and she found it wasn't right and she refused to stay someplace that wasn't right for her. And she went to the place, the final destination, so to speak, of where she sees herself. And to me, frankly, the fact that we give instruction on construction, forgive me for those in the industry, but it's almost secondary to helping them to believe that they can build from within themselves a future that is sustainable for them, not just in the Bay Area, wherever they go, but certainly in the Bay Area, that's the highest economy in the country, that they can even still be here and survive in this. So that's the essence of the life mastery, is just building them up so they believe in themselves and believe that they have a place in the world.
Yeah. I love that, and I love the importance that you bring when it comes to confidence, I know a lot of people out there when it comes to not knowing how to do something, and you use the example as just as simply as building a shed. Well, it's like
Mhm.
once you do that, you're like, "Holy crap, like, I just built that." Like, I feel like that is actually so important because, you can always have so much doubt in yourself to actually do something, but until you just do it and you're like, "Holy shit, I actually did it." That brings just, like, so much more confidence, and then that kinda gets the ball rolling, and then you have all this momentum going into, what you're going into essentially.
I'm often a little chagrined to admit that I'm a gamer, right? And I'm a gamer from Pong, right? Way back, yeah, Atari, all these things. And I tell them, look, when you start a new game, are you perfect? No, but it's fun and it's interesting. And so you continue and you work your way up level to level, and suddenly you're a champion, right? Apply that same mentality, that same drive that you chase after that position in that video game. Do that here. It's easily transferable. If you really let yourself think about it, you can do the same thing. And so,
Yeah.
kind of even speaking their language is helpful for them to be able to conceptualize what their success might be.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I remember what it was now. It was the life lessons that you're kind of speaking up on, where it's like, how do you handle yourself in an interview? And like, how do you actually like answer questions and like, elaborate on your answers? Not just giving short answers because you like the person hiring you really wants to get to know who you are and stuff like that. So being able to like really like present yourself, simple as showing up on time. So what you guys are bringing when it comes to bringing confidence and life lessons to these kids, it's not just a curriculum. It's like setting them up for life, right? So I think what you guys are doing at Fortitude is absolutely amazing. I want to go into a little bit of the operational side of things now. How do you guys manage your intake processes right now? You guys must get a lot of people who are 18 to 24-year-olds who, are notorious hard to communicate. I know myself personally, like I'm either on my phone doing stuff when like, you get emails, phone calls from numbers, and you're like, I'm not going to answer, or I'm not going to call back, or I'm not going to listen to this voicemail. How do you manage that process right now?
With a lot of patience. Let's just start with that, right? Look, here's the truth is that I come to them as a real human being, right? And I create that connection with them that compels them to respond. We do so the process begins with what we call an ECC, which is Exploring Construction Careers. It's a half-day event, and we invite high school juniors and seniors, and they come out to a Webcor job site, and they put on the hard hat and the safety goggles and the boots and the vest, and they walk a job site. And this could be a 22-story high rise where all kinds of different levels of construction are happening on every floor. There could be finishing out the top, or they could be laying the concrete for the parking deck and I'm embarrassing myself by not knowing exactly, but the design that they put
Yeah.
into the various stages of the concrete so that it's got traction for tires and for feet, and we start to like talk about, look, the next time you go into a parking deck, take a look at the ground and you'll see somebody was here before you and they put that traction there so that you didn't slip or that your car could make it out of there in wet weather. And I said, then look up at the ceiling and then you'll see all of these pipes running, and those pipes will carry wastewater, regular water. It'll carry electrical lines, all these things. If you look around you, you will see the construction world is laid out in front of you every single place you go. In fact, I tell them, I said, okay, your contemporaries, your peers at school, many of them have gone on to college, right? But nobody goes on to a career and sits in an office that you haven't been there first to build that office. They don't have a place to go if you haven't been there to build it. So look around your world and see where construction has been, and you can see yourself there. So when we go out onto the job site and they're doing this walk around, I also say, do you see your people here? Do you see yourself here? Is there a place where you think you could fit in this world? And I'd say probably 50% of the students who come out to the job site, to the ECC, actually leave fantastically inspired that they have a possibility of a career path in front of them. And others think, okay, great, I'm really glad I did this because, in fact, no, construction is not for me. And now I know it, I can look someplace else. But we take from there. The first year we offered class. We started in 2020, and we spent the better part of 2 years developing the program, developing the curriculum. We worked with 100 different instructional designers to come up with our curriculum. It's proprietary to us. Webcor contributed considerably, and we started to have classes in 2022. In the time from 2022 until today, we have worked with and graduated 96 students. Of that 96, 70 are in jobs in construction, realizing the dream that started back here at this ECC, right? And so that is our funnel. We've never done advertising. I'll do a podcast on occasion, but that doesn't really stimulate teens because how many high schoolers are listening to podcasts in construction? So, but the teachers have been really supportive at the San Mateo Union High School District here and the various other school districts. And when we reach the teacher and the teacher can offer these students, many of whom are in CTE classes, continuing technical education classes, suddenly there's a pathway. Suddenly there's something to get excited about. There's a path to follow. And so then students go to our website, fortitudecareers.org/apply, and they put in their application. I'm proud to say we have never turned anybody away. Every single person. Now we'll have 40 applicants for 16 seats, and we'll say, look, we've got our 16 seats filled for this cohort, but we've got another cohort coming. And so in 2022, we started with one cohort in the summer. We had so much interest. Telemundo and a news agency, local news agency, came out and did a little piece on us. And suddenly the community was starting to send us people. And so we decided, okay, in 2023, we're going to do 2 cohorts. In 2024, we did 2, but we were looking at doing 3. In 2025, we finally made it to 3 cohorts. In 2026, we're going to do 3 cohorts and an adult school night course over the summer. And so we have grown almost 400% since 2022 because I'm allergic to the word no, so I can't tell a person, well, you can't come to Fortitude. I'll just say not yet. And so we've got young people lining up ready to do this, but we also require them to commit, right? I tell them, I'm going to give you 2 months of my time. I'm going to give you a seat in this room where other people were told no, not yet. I expect that you will show up. I expect that you will give it your all. And for some, that's a new concept. They're used to sitting in the back row of a classroom, kind of just, phoning it in.
Yeah.
And we're really putting the screws to them to say, no. Your future depends on you not phoning it in. So sit up. Let's do this. They have to be in my class at 7:30. If they are 1 second past at 7:30, they give me 10 push-ups. If they're late a second time, they give me 20. If they're late a third time, they give me 30. And we're talking about whether or not this is right for them. We had a really cool experience in our last cohort where this guy, he is a little bit older than the rest of our students. He had 2 kids. He had been a rugby player. He had his degree, but he needed a pathway into construction, and he was late. He had a full-time job, and he came to sit with us for 8 hours a day, and he kept being late. And I said, look, dude, I love what you're after. I love what you want to do, but I have a standard I have to uphold, and I have to hold my other students to it, and so I have to hold you to it. And so finally, on his 3rd time being late, I said, I need you to stay outside for a minute. I just, we've had this conversation. I can't have it again, so stay here. And I went in, and I said it to the class. I said, look, here's what the situation is. Technically today, I should release him from the program because he can't be on time. He can't uphold that standard. And they said, don't. He's the best guy in this class. He's the guy that we all look to that's going to be this. He's our leader. Don't let him go. We will do push-ups when he's late. The whole class will stand up and do push-ups to keep him here. And so all of a sudden you see, okay, look, I'm holding him to a standard and I'm not releasing him from that because his job will not release him from that. His job will not understand that, right? They'll let him go. And so, but to see these kids authentically and organically say, we will suffer the punishment in order to keep him on the team. That's something you can't I can't create that. That came from them. And I think it instilled in them suddenly this value, oh, wait a minute. No, I am committed to my teammate. So there's this cool synergy that went down that really I think will stay with them forever. And like I said, that's not something we can create. It's something that's just the environment invites. So anyway, I
I
told
know,
you,
I love
I
that.
warned you, I'm enthusiastic
Amazing.
about this, so bear
Yeah,
with me.
no, that's amazing. That's some really cool stuff, when the kids are able to come together like that. It's like a team effort, right? And then the fact that they're learning that now and then and like are really passionate about that kind of stuff, it's
And how
really
will that show up for
inspiring.
their employers, right? Their
Exactly.
employers will see that in them. And that's what really where it matters.
Yeah, it's important. When it comes to you guys scaling and what your guys' goals are for 2026, you mentioned saying you don't do any ads or any kind of stuff like that, and it seems like you guys got a long lineup when it comes to bringing people in because you only got so many spots. What's your guys' goal when it comes to growing and scaling? Because you want to obviously be able to get more kids in the classroom and stuff like that and help more people. So, what are you guys doing exactly to do that for 2026?
It's funny that you asked this because last night, literally, I had a board meeting, and my board is a mix of just really powerful professional people, but also friends, and
Yeah,
they continue to press me. One of them said, in fact, I have my notes here from our board meeting last night. She said, "I want to be sure that Fortitude is accommodating." Every single person who wants our services. And I'm thinking, but I'm only one person. And I have, look, I have a remarkable young woman who came to work for me, work for Fortitude. She doesn't work for me. We're colleagues, we're partners in this, and she does an incredible job. But literally, it's the two of us and our trades instructor. And that's it as far as our team. We don't have admin people doing fundraising. We don't have all these people doing all these things. We're doing it. And we do 2 months on, 2 months in cohort and 2 months out of cohort. And out of cohort's when we're running the business. And so our scaling is, how do we replicate me and Dave, who's our phenomenal shop instructor, who's a guy that meets those kids where they are. Young adults, where they are, and he gets them. Because you know what? We show them our picture of our high school picture before they start class, and we say to them, look, we were kind of fuck ups too. And it's okay. We're all in the same group,
yeah,
we're all in the same team. And Dave's high school picture looks a little bit like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's sitting back doing the,
yeah.
uh, all of this. And so suddenly they realize, oh, wait a minute, you're just us with more experience. And so to replicate the heart and the instinct, to meet them where they are, to not be judgmental about their challenges, their past, or anything, to have a heart for where they're going is not an easy thing. I welcome anybody who's interested in this kind of work to hit us up because we have more people than we can serve. In my big picture is I would like to see Fortitude in every major city where tech has moved in and told everybody else that they're no good because they're not in tech. They're not rising up through tech. It's the tech triangle in North Carolina, in the Carolinas. It's Austin, what I call Silicon Valley South. It's Seattle, where, you've got the Microsoft and all the big companies up there. It's Silicon Valley here. Because suddenly what happens in a community where tech moves in is that's where the big money is. That's what they tell them. Oh, go tech, go get a good degree, go this, go that. Well, guess what? Tech is now being undermined by AI. And that's maybe my next thing is to go to these folks who have thought they had a professional life in tech and AI is taking those jobs. Hey, come out of the office and get on the job because we need data centers. We need all these things to manage this. Come to us. I'd like to see us across the United States in places where tech has moved in and told people that if they're not tech, they're nothing, to reinforce that they do have a place, they have a profession, they have a way to go. And so That's a huge ambition, and I'm not sure I have enough gas in the tank to take it the distance, but
We'll
for
get you
now,
there.
we'll
We'll
put it
get
where we
you
can.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
all
I
about
hope so.
the outreach and getting people to hear more about your mission and your story, 'cause I think it's absolutely beautiful. Unfortunately, we are up for time. We're gonna have to have you on again at some point because I feel like there's a lot more questions I wanna ask you and all that kinda
Sure.
stuff and hear more about it and all that and everything, but what you guys are doing is absolutely fantastic. I honestly, hand to heart, I really enjoyed hearing what you guys do and everything like that, and I'm sure the people listening are truly inspired about what you guys are bringing to the table and how you're helping all these young adults and everything like that. So I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing.
Appreciate
For
that.
any of the general contractors in the Bay Area who do want to hire your guys' grads or anyone who wants to donate to the mission, where should they go?
.org, and I will assure you that they will come to you job ready. And if they are in any way unprepared, we stay with them for a year after they've been employed to continue to coach them and encourage them and lift them up and provide them with what they maybe don't have for the need of the particular job. They get a well-trained young person, but they also get a team of people who are passionately behind the success of that individual and ultimately for that business. And so we welcome partnerships and we welcome hiring partners. And they can look us up, like I said, at fortitudecareers.org.
Yeah, awesome. We'll put those links in the show notes. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's my passion to talk about this stuff. You can tell. So
Yeah,
I
no, I love
appreciate
it. I
having the
love it.
format.
Yeah. And
And hit me back anytime.
yeah, of course. And thanks for everyone for joining us. Keep building, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.
Yes.